Hey guys, welcome to the Property Panel Podcast. You got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here with co-host Josh Story, and today we're going to be bringing you the second quarter market update. But before we get started in that, Josh, could you give a thanks to our sponsors?
Yeah, I want to thank our title sponsors for this episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. If you need deed prep, title work, closings, and more, they're located in Brandenburg, E-Town, and Louisville. You can call them at 270-763-6589. And then for this week's sponsor, I want to thank We Buy Houses. You can give us a call at 270-945-5416, 270-945-7189, and we will pay cash for your house and give you a cash offer, close in as little as 2 weeks. Just shoot us your address and we'll send you a quote.
Yeah, and we'll actually give you two prices. So just that we're not out to get you. We are in the business to make money, so we're going to offer you lower the market value, obviously, because we want to make a little cash ourselves. But we'll give you that list price, what you could do or get for your house if you put it on the market, as well as give you that price cash closing 2 weeks, money in your hand. And that entices people sometimes.
Yeah, and really the benefit to you if you're going to sell to an investor for cash in 2 weeks, it is that timeline. No inspections, obviously. It's straightforward. If you need cash quick, maybe you're behind on your payments or something like that, need help getting out of foreclosure, we can do that. Whereas listing, it might take upwards of 60 to 90 days after everything's said and done.
Yeah, and we can actually get in talks with your mortgage company. So potentially, if the number's not there for us to get your exact payoff, sometimes we can work with the mortgage company and we can come to terms with them to get it a little under and have you free and clear of the home. So we can help you out any situation, any condition. We don't care if you can see the ground through the floors, or if you can see the sky through the roof. We really don't care. We buy it all, depending on the price and location, obviously. But yeah. Thank you. Please give us a shout. We definitely would like to buy your house. And then obviously, if you or anyone you know would like to be a weekly, monthly, or yearly sponsor, you can give us a call at those same numbers he provided or at 270-422-1331. And that's 100 weekly, 300 monthly, and 3,000 yearly. And you'll be advertised on our intros, outros, as well as intermissions, as well as all social media platform. I think we're on now 5 or 6 different platforms at the moment.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So go check us out at Property Panel Podcast. Just give us a like and a follow. We'll definitely appreciate it. It's a free way to support the podcast and get us going, get us some more sponsors, and continue to improve the podcast, which we got a few things that we're going to be working on in the next week or so to upgrade, different pieces of the podcast. But
yeah, I agree with you. And, like Josh said, just giving us a like or share just at the moment while you're just scrolling through your Facebook helps us tremendously, gets us a few extra plays. We're reaching about 2,000 on average a week across the different, platforms cumulatively. So we're pretty proud about that. And actually, we got a giveaway going down. If you're interested, go to our TikTok. We're trying to reach 100 followers on there. We're reaching about 1,000 views per post on TikTok. So That's where we're, I guess, the most active at the moment. But, obviously, we're still going to be outsourcing that to every platform to give you, the easiest access to it wherever you'd like to watch.
And once we reach 100 followers on TikTok, we'll be selecting a winner for the giveaway. And Jay, what are we giving away on this?
We got a few shirts coming in. Actually, Kurt with Custom Creations. He was one of our first or second sponsors on the podcast. We showed you a little bit of his work. He does laser engravings and, prints and Cricut and the whole nine. He can do anything from a shirt to, a cutting board. It doesn't matter. But we're going to be giving away shirts is what we're giving away. I think we're going to do a bundle of 2 or 3 shirts with our logo Property Panel on the front, Property Panel on the back. And obviously in whatever size you want, whether it's for you, a family member, it doesn't matter. We want to get some of our merch out there, get our name popped and people to see it out and about in town, because Kurt made a few hats for us a while back and then we're pretty, popular and people wanted them. I think we had 4 or 5 made and they was gone within the first week and we didn't even get to keep one for ourselves, But so just go ahead, give us a, follow on TikTok. That'd be greatly appreciated. And Josh, in the next week, we're coming up on your wedding. You getting excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's coming up quick. There's still a lot of work to be done to get ready for it. I got to do some more weeding and mowing because we're doing it at the family farm. But I'm definitely excited. It's coming up, and can't wait for all the friends and family that are going to be there with us. So But I guess Ethan's not here. We were going to talk about his.
Yeah, you want to
his
give a
flip.
shout out to your registry just in case anyone
Yeah.
wants to go and purchase you a little
Yeah,
something.
if you want to
for the
buy
wedding.
me and Melina a gift, go to twoheartsonestory.us. And we're registered on Target and Amazon, so
Nice.
would appreciate it. But
And like you said, we don't have Ethan on the show again this week. He's been gone the last few weeks, putting a lot of work in, getting his house all situated. I think next week he's going to be moving in, so either next week or the week after. It really depends because we've been really busy with Josh's wedding and other things going on in our life. So we've been really putting these out, on a whim, once a week. So within the next couple of weeks, we're going to get back in a groove, start, messing with the studio again. And all around just making the podcast better again.
For the past month, the wedding's kind of just consumed my life. There's so much to do and get done and prep for, so haven't been able to put as much time into the podcast as I've wanted to. But that's okay. We'll ramp it up again in next week or the week after.
Yep, and like you said, Ethan's been gone. Hopefully next week we can or the week after do the podcast on his transformation of his house. He's a first time home buyer, so we're going to kind of interview him, see how it was for him on the process, and then take a look into his home and what he's transformed it from, because I think y'all will be amazed, and what little elbow grease you put into a home can go a long way.
I'm sure he's excited about it. But I guess let's dive into the market update, which we're on episode 22, so we're 22 weeks in. We'll probably be doing a market update every so often. So we're going to be going over the second quarter market update. And Jay, you want to kick it off for what rates are right now, what we're looking at?
Yeah, that's the reason actually I kind of wanted to do this episode. The market update wasn't for another couple weeks for the full second quarter, but the rates actually did just lower for the second time this year. So we did want to touch base on that and let you know how the market's going, because a lot of people, I've been hearing mixed, emotions. Some people say it's moving really hot. Some people say it's slowing down a little bit. They're expecting prices to drop. And we just want to spit, our personal professional advice to you and what we think the market's going to do. But like I said, the rates did go down, and it wasn't anything drastic. I think it was like 1% or 2%, or 1/10% or 2%.
And in my opinion, I think we're going to hover around this 6 to 7% for a while. In my opinion, it could go either way, but I really think we're going to stick around that 7% for probably the next few years. It's going to fluctuate, obviously, but with that, I feel like, we're going to see a little bit more of an uptick in prices, especially because it's summertime. Yep. People are out of school. It's a good time for parents to start moving, because they don't want to do it halfway through the school year, obviously.
Right.
So I see prices going up, this summer, just like they always do almost every year. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that when interest rates go down or something goes down, that prices are going to go down. No, that's actually the adverse effect that it has on it. So typically when your interest rates are low and your house prices are going to go up. So we want you to go ahead and buy now, and it's not just because we want to go ahead and make the money now, but we want to make you get the most out of your investment.
Right.
And with the way that inflation and interest rates are going up, at record speeds, it's a very smart move to go ahead and buy, even though it's a lot scarier than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, we always say, date the rate and marry the home. Really the rates are always going to fluctuate. It could go a lot higher. It could go a lot lower. In the circumstance that it does go lower, you can always refinance at a certain point. So keep that in mind. And, historically, prices always go up pretty consistently. There's only so many houses, there's only so much land, and population continues to grow.
And that brings up a good topic too. There's very little supply, and we've talked about it many, many times, but it is even getting lower. I didn't think it could go much lower, but on the market today, when I just checked it, there's about 40 homes in the county, when we're typically, used to seeing about 80 homes. In the last year, it's been about 50 to 60. So it's pretty scary to see those numbers at a record low. And then also to see, homes going at record speeds. I don't know if these people are scared of the interest rates or scared that they can't find a home in time. And I think that's what we've been dealing with a lot here lately, is just because there's not a large supply, and such a high demand, we're not getting, these buyers and sellers into homes at the rate that they're wanting to be. So they're kind of hesitant, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of development going on too in Meade County, but it's hard for that development to keep up with the demand and the amount of people moving into the area. So I think that's going to be a continuing trend for a while, is we're going to have a low supply but a high demand. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. If you find a house that fits what you're looking for, I would bite the bullet and try to go for it because
Hmm.
it might not come up again.
Yeah, and we've been missing out on a lot of multiple offer situations. I've been putting over asking, offers on homes and still been getting beat out, even with conventional or cash offers. And that just goes to show if your, home's priced accordingly, you're going to, I know people want to shoot for the stars and we say this all the time, but I think even now is more important than ever that you need to list at market value because you're going to get more influx of buyers in that home, which is more competition driving that price up in that multiple offer situation.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works. A lot of sellers think that they need a price as high as possible to get the most money, but in some circumstances, if you price at the correct market price, you're going to get a multiple offer situation and actually drive that price above listing.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind. A good realtor is going to show you what the house is worth roughly through which we'll get into a little bit later, but a CMA. We can break down the prices of homes in the area and what they're selling for and get a pretty accurate price on what we should list for.
And I know we do mention CMAs a lot. We got to use them for listings, but even as a buyer's agent, I think that you should use those. And I don't think enough buyer's agents do utilize those. And even when I'm drafting an offer, not only for my offer to be more appealing to the sellers, but also so my buyers understand where they're standing with this offer and where market value is, because
Right.
no one's going to sell their house less than what it's worth, in most
Right.
cases, unless, a certain situation arises. But I think it's good for them buyers to understand what true market value is for the homes they're looking at as well. So whenever presenting an offer, I'll go ahead and do a short, quick CMA and let my buyers know like, hey, this is what the comp value is. But also, if you're getting multiple offers or multiple, whatever coming in and it's a hot commodity, then I think you still want to go above that market value to secure these homes because, in a few months or a few years, it's going to be exponentially higher for their value.
Yeah, yeah. I think we'll continue to see that low supply and the high demand. So get in while you can, and especially if it makes sense for you. If you see a house that you love and plan on wanting to live in it for the next 10 years, go ahead and bite the bullet on it. Like I said, I think interest rates are going to sit around that 6 to 7% for a while, and you can always refinance. So.
Yep. And trust your agent. We're not out here. Obviously, we're in this business to make money, but a good agent's not going to be chasing that commission. They're going to be chasing their client's happiness.
Yeah.
And with that will come commission. And I promise you just do the work and, the rest will come to you. I think a lot of agents are just more focused on what they're going to make and what payday when it's going to happen. And they're not in their client's best interest, which is our fiduciary duties.
Yeah, and I think though that separates agents. The ones that are chasing that money, they actually don't perform as well, I think, as the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are really looking out for their clients and taking every case by case scenario to do the best for their clients. I think those agents outperform the ones just trying to make the sale because ultimately if you're really in it for your clients, then you're going to be looking out for all the red flags and making sure that deal goes through. And so you're going to run into less, deals falling out for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess maybe we should dive into a break and come back with some more information on just real estate terms and, general market information.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll go ahead and thank our sponsors for this episode. Big shout out to Collier Title Company. They do deep
Thank you guys for staying tuned with us here at the Property Panel Podcast. Of course, you got myself, Jalen Hardcastle, here with co-host Josh Story. And earlier today, we were talking about, today's market update. And I think what we should go over now is, commonly misconstrued real estate terms or acronyms and, kind of describe a little bit about each. So, Josh, would you break it down for us?
Yeah, I'm going to actually kick it off with the seller's disclosure and the lead-based paint disclosure because I think these kind of go together. Seller's disclosure, obviously, that's a form that the seller fills out, and it's their knowledge base of the home. So it's going to ask them all kinds of questions about the roof, about the heating and air system, about the grading, everything, the sewer system. It's going to ask what they know about the property, if there's any defects, anytime they have had it, repaired or replaced. And that's a very important and necessary document when we list a property. And it's a good indicator for a buyer to read over before they put in an offer, in my opinion. And then lead-based paint disclosure kind of goes hand in hand with that. And I believe the year is 1978, if I'm correct. Any house built before 1978 is required to have this lead-based paint disclosure. Basically just disclosing that there could be lead-based paint, which does have some dangers, obviously. They don't use it anymore, but those are the two main disclosures. And, if you have a piece of land instead of a seller's disclosure, you'll have a vacant land disclosure. Similar thing. It's just asking questions that the seller knows about the land, and I've seen them fully filled out. I've seen people don't know much about the property, but definitely an important thing to keep an eye on when you're buying.
Yeah, and like Josh said, those go hand in hand, and them are actually with the listing side, but the buyers do look at those when they're going to look at the home. And then obviously you got your exclusive right to sell, so that's what the document you're going to have whenever you're listing the property. And then obviously you'd attach those documents to the MLS system, so if other agents or yourself are wanting to print off the information about the property, it's right there ready to go, and all the information's at your fingertips. And then obviously we got the magic one that we all want to hear, CTC. Everyone's like, what's CTC when I send it? I'm like, you need to know these words because everyone is so happy to hear them, but it means clear to close. And if you don't know what clear to close means, it means that your loan is clear to go and we're ready to sign off and get paid.
Yeah, I think CTC is the best words an agent can hear.
I need that acronym on my shirt. Like the girls have their initials. I need CTC.
Yeah, I need a hat with CTC on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Acceptance, it's just another way of saying we got an accepted offer, which, kind of leads to pending, and pending means under contract or there was an accepted offer. And Jay, you want to break down what a first right of refusal?
So before I break that down, I want to go over contingencies because contingencies are what, basically brings up the first right of refusal. So basically a contingency can mean numerous things. The most common one being contingent upon the sale of the buyer's home. So say a buyer's come to look at your property, their loan cannot be approved to purchase your property unless their home over here that they're moving out of sells. So they would do a simultaneous closing and same day close at the first one to sell this one to have money for this one. And it's pretty easy. But in cases where, especially in how hot the market is, you don't want your home to be in limbo basically until their home sells. So basically you'll get that first right of refusal, and that will give the sellers a little out to continue marketing the property as active, but still having a contract on hand that can move forward at any point. But if you do potentially get a contract, another offer in your hand, you can go with that one, and the other buyers have 48 hours to rid their contingencies. And a lot of times it's not that simple, so most of the times they'll go with that newer offer if that's the case.
Right, and then so that kind of goes hand in hand with active under contract. And, basically, if they're under contract but they're allowing backup offers or showings just to keep interest in the property, which is a good move in some scenarios. Ask your realtor if that's a good option for you at the time.
And I think that's one that these people need to listen up for, because that some will show active on the Zillow or Realtor.com, wherever you're looking on your phones, and pending. They don't understand the difference between pending and active, I feel like, a lot of times. So if something's pending, it means there's a contract on it. The house is not available to be shown in most cases. But then when you got that active under contract or just regular active, it's good to show. There might be potential offers on the table, but nothing's set in stone, and you still have an opportunity there.
Right. What are some scenarios you might do active under contract as a listing agent?
So actually, I have two right now that actually one just got released, and hopefully the other gets released this week. But basically, I had a pretty nice property down there in Webster, and we got a good offer on it, which it took a little bit to get an offer at the time. It was taking about 3 weeks on average to sell anything around 300 to 350. So right at that week mark, we got 3 good offers. They decided to go with this one with the contingency, just because it had better terms for them, and they're in no rush to sell. So I was like, hey, let's go ahead and just not put all our eggs in one basket. They need, some time to get their ducks in a row. So let's go ahead and keep this baby active, continuing marketing the property. And we've had 3 or 4 offers since come in, but we decided to continue going with this one just because those other offers weren't as appealing, or they weren't at the price point that they were wanting.
Right. And then another term that you hear often is underwriting, before that, a closing disclosure. And that's going to show your closing fees, your loan payoffs, profits from the sale, etc. And that's kind of broken down into credits and debits. Basically, what's coming out, what's going in. It breaks down all the finances of a home transaction or a property transaction. And it's very important for you to review that before your closing day in case there are some issues on it. It could save you some time or a dry closing.
We don't like those dry closings, and that's one actually we didn't have on topic to discuss, but I think we should discuss that because especially when you're doing bridge loans and stuff like that, you have a 3-day rescission process. So there will be a dry closing in those cases, and then there are other scenarios where that could play out, but this is the most common. And basically what happens is you'll close one day and then you don't get paid for at least 3 more business days after that. So it's not the most opportune, ideal situation, but in some circumstances it is the only option, and a lot of times you can get that home moved quicker that way. So it's a good option for the seller more or less than the buyer, but also it allows that buyer to get in a home that they really want that they might have not been able to get with the contingency. So there's pros and cons to both sides.
Right. And then a big term that you always hear on the lending side is underwriting. And that, usually there's a whole underwriting team behind your lender. And they're, I don't know the intricacies of what all they're doing, but it's kind of the final number crunching on their end to approve the loan and the home. So, for instance, like I know VA and FHA might have some more contingencies on certain conditions of the property on their appraisal. I think that's part of underwriting as well as the financing. So if you get through underwriting, typically you get that CTC and that clear to close and you're good to go.
And you'll actually go through, I think, 2 or 3 different underwritings throughout the whole process. So you'll go through initial underwriting as soon as you get a house under contract, and they're going to make sure, verify everything, that your employment's good, that you've been paid, for the last 2 years or whatnot. And verify income, your debt to income, and as well as, like you said, that final underwriting process, just to make sure that nothing changed in that 30 to 60 day process, between contract to close. Make sure you're still employed, make sure you hadn't bought a new car or any other crazy debts like that, and make sure you've been, just trucking along like a normal citizen would.
Yeah. Side note, which I know we've brought this up in other podcasts, but don't open a line of credit. Don't refinance your car if you're halfway through buying a house. That could easily throw the whole deal. So
if you buy a new car and just if you're not even looking at a house or you're thinking about looking at a house, just know as soon as if you're also thinking about buying a new car, you're not going to be able to buy a house within probably about 3 months after buying that new car in a typical situation, So just you got to make these investments. I know you might need a new home or you might need a new car, but you got to make them wise because, even with a car, it's one of the most depreciating assets that you could purchase. And, but we all still need them to get to A to B, to get to work, to make our money. So, you got to get you a reliable car, but, be smart about it.
Yeah, just weigh your priorities and what you need in the moment. If you really need a house, maybe buy a cheaper car so that you can buy the house. Or
and then as soon as you so that's the thing that, sorry to cut you off, but that's the thing that gets me. So if you buy a car, you can't buy a house, but if you buy a house, you can buy a car. So as soon as you close on a house, you can go buy a car the next day.
Yeah.
But it's not the opposite, and you would think it would be with the debts being so different,
Right.
But hey, all I gotta say is wait till we close, and then you go buy whatever car you want.
Which I know we don't have this one listed, but DTI, debt to income ratio, that's one of the big factors on getting pre-approved. They're going to look at how much debt you have. So if you already have a mortgage and a car payment, etc., versus how much you make. So there's typical percentages that they're looking for. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you want to keep your debt to income ratio as low as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want high debt. But I guess we can kind of move on into FSBO, FSBO, or for sale by owner. That's just a term that we use and many people use of if they're selling it by themselves, no agent involved. You'll see those for sale signs out in some yards, and some of them say FSBO or they just have a number on it. Jay, what do you think about for sale by owners?
I say give it a try. I think you'll realize that it's more headache than anything, and that there is a use for these professionals. We're not out here, screwing anyone over. This is our job, and this is our profession. We take it seriously, and we get you the most bang for your buck. I know statistically speaking, for sale by owners have been selling on average about 50,000 less than when listed with a realtor across the nation. So. I would rather, instead of being worried about paying 10, 20 grand, depending on your home value, I would be worried about saving or making that extra 30, 40 grand. It might seem like, oh, I don't want to spend that money. Well, you're not spending it when you're making, 2 or 3 times that amount. So that's statistically speaking. Though.
Yeah, and not to mention there's the headache saver that you get with a good real estate agent. You basically just kind of sit in the passenger seat and go for the ride, and then get to the closing table. So
and this is so with property management, I tell people this too, but as well as buyers, I kind of tell them the same thing. So when we manage properties for these landlords, they're like, what do I got to do? And I'm like, nothing. That is our job. You literally sit back and just sign a few things and collect a check every now and again. And same for you buyers and sellers. You just sit back, let us find the properties, let us do the work for you, let us do the negotiation. Obviously, you got to say so, and it's your decision. Same with the landlords. But at the end of the day, I'm giving you my professional advice, and I want to make money just as quick as you do. And I'm not going to, try and make less for myself or make more for myself. I want that home to stay constantly rented or sold or what have you. So I'm going to list it accordingly.
Right. And one of the tactics that we use to actually get homes sold is open houses. Which there's 2 types of open houses. Just a regular open house, so anyone can come view, and then we have broker open houses where agents and brokers come view the house and give you an opinion on a price, or maybe they bring their clients in afterwards. But I think open houses are a really good strategy to sell a home, especially if you do it in the first week, or if you're not getting very much attention on the property to do an open house. This could get more people in the door and incentivize people to maybe come check it out when they normally wouldn't.
No, I totally agree. And I personally prefer the broker open houses just because I feel like you get more traction and obviously more valuable feedback because it's coming from professionals. Right. And they have no ties to the home, so they're going to give you their honest feedback. As far as, those regular open houses, you don't see much traction. You might have a, window shopper to stop in, but, at the end of the day, they don't even give you any feedback, and they're really just looking just to look because they needed to pass their time before they went and ate some lunch or something.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, if you're serious, like I said, if it's listened accordingly, you shouldn't have time to host those open houses. So,
yeah. And then, obviously cost market analysis, or a CMA, that's a common practice for real estate agents, on either side, buying or selling. If you want to know the value of your home, roughly, we take statistics from the market from our MLS system to come up with a price that we think that the house should sell for. And it's based off of sold properties recently that are close or similar to the subject property. But those are very important. It's a free service from your real estate agent. Yeah, Jay, you want to break down some of the CMA, which we have an episode on?
Yeah, go. I think it was episode 1, so It might not look the best, but as far as the screencast, man, as clear as you can get. So if you want to check that out, it breaks it down a little bit more. But basically, we dive in and go. Obviously in the more rural areas, we're going to do a 5-10 mile radius. But as far as bigger city goes, we might do a half mile to a mile radius only, just because there's so many houses. It really depends on how many people are in these cities and these counties. But typically what I'll do is, I'll look, say Brandenburg, and then I'll get homes within, a 5 mile radius of that specific road, because Brandenburg's kind of large. It's probably about 20 mile radius. So, we want to get the most pinpoint, accurate, competitive market analysis. And especially like if you got a private community like Doe Valley, the prices are going to fluctuate. Whereas, that same house right outside the gate on 933, might sell for $100,000 less just because it's in that gated community. So you really want to take into effect everything these homes have to offer and everything these comparable homes have to offer, because maybe not every home's the same, but as far as, the siding, whether it's brick, vinyl, the type of roof it has, if it has a basement, garage, acreage, it all comes to account to get you the correct price.
And then another document that is required, and we do on every scenario, is an agency disclosure form. And this breaks down all the types of agency. So, you have single agency, me as a realtor representing you as the buyer, dual agency. So in that situation, I would, represent the seller and the buyer, designated agency. There's quite a few, but we'll send you this form and explain it to you, but it breaks down all these types of agencies. And it's important to understand, what those are. But yeah, Jay, do you have any more to expand on the agencies?
No, the agency disclosures, like you said, you nailed it on the
straightforward.
head. Just, there's so many different types that could happen. Me and Josh from the same brokerage could be, working this deal together. Just me dependently or him dependently could be, working the deal by themselves, or even us with different agents from different brokerages could be doing it. So there's so many different relationships that could be happening, or even with the for sale by owner taking their own, part side into their own hands, and only one agent being, there's so many different relationships that can happen. And they just want you to be totally aware of all the possible outcomes. And then obviously whenever we present you an offer, we have you sign a piece of paper showing you what type of relationship is happening in that specific transaction.
Yeah. And another thing too, as far as realtors go, we have to do CE and PLE, continuing education. I forget, was it every 2 years?
So the PLE is post-licensing education. You got 48 hours to do in the first 2 years. And then you got continuing education, which is the CE. And I think we have to do every year 8, and then every 2 years like 12 or something like that.
Gotcha.
Because they have you do law, and then I think state law, and then something else maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I forget.
They
do it so much.
They go over everything. I think it's important to keep everybody on the same page and keep everybody educated. It's a good thing. Jay, what about a transaction coordinator?
Yeah, so we actually don't have one of those in our office. As close as that gets might be our office manager. But typically, other brokerages such as like maybe a KW, Remax, something like that, that's a little more well known. They're trying to get all the money they can, is basically what I think, and take some of the weight off their agent's plate. But honestly, in my personal opinion, I don't think that that's very good for business. I think it takes away some of the relationships and work out of their agent side, which is why they pay them a fee. Usually it'll be like $250 or so fee for a transaction coordinator, and all they're doing is sending documents for the agent. But that agent needs to be, I think, in cahoots with all working things, because as far as lenders go, these title companies, insurance agents, all of it we have to deal with. And if there's a problem that arises, I want to know about it firsthand, and I want to be able to get to the root of it and find these solutions. So I personally don't like a transaction coordinator because I don't want to pay the fee, and then two, I don't think that the agent's doing their due diligence in that case.
Right. And then we have lenders. Finding a lender, in my opinion, that's either step 1 or step 2 of a home buying process. Is call a lender and see if you can afford a home, how much of a home you can afford, figure out what your payments are going to be. But what a lender does, they basically just facilitate the loan process and get the financing.
Yeah, and you can call them lender, mortgage officer, mortgage originator, loan officer, loan originator. They got many names, but they're all the same thing. They're basically the ones approving you for the loan. So, we say lender, many different names for these folks, but that is what it is. And then obviously the lender is going to be in charge of taking care of the appraisal processes and those needed inspections for your loan. And the appraisal is going to go do a head and shoulders in the crawl and attic access spaces and things like that. So
yeah, and appraisal is going to find a good valuation of the home, and that's for the lender. So let's say you're under contract for $200,000, but the appraisal comes in at 190. That basically just instills that the lender is not, lending out on a home that's not worth what they're lending. So keep in mind on appraisals, and that's an important part of CMAs because you don't want to come in too high of an appraisal. So doing your work beforehand can avoid a bad appraisal price. And then we got inspections. You got your termite inspections, your home inspections, mold. There's countless inspections that you can get. The most common are home and termite. Termites required by FHA and VA. Home inspections just always recommended.
Yeah, and then obviously if you don't get a home inspection, you can't get a home warranty. I know that there are a few companies that do provide home warranty coverage. I've never put those to the test, and I honestly have never recommended them to my clients, and my clients have never went with them. I've known a few agents that have done that, and I've never heard the outcome, whether that be successful or not. I just can only recommend go ahead and get you a home inspection. It's one of the only things you can do to protect you from your investment before you buy it.
Right. Yeah, home warranties they can range from $400 to $800 a month or a year. Sorry, and they depending on the home warranty, they cover things like your heating and air system, your appliances, etc. So that's something to maybe look at if you're buying. And then Jay, what do you have to say about our timelines?
Yeah, so a lot of people get, obviously we got inspection timelines and stuff like that, as well as closing timelines. 7 to 10 days is pretty standard for the inspections, and then 30 to 45 days for the closing timeline. But a lot of people might think that the weekends or the holidays don't count. That is incorrect. We are on a 24/7, 365 timeline. So we work every day, all day, any hour, anytime, anywhere. I don't care if I'm in a plane or if I'm on the ground or if I'm across the country. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be servicing my clients because the timelines never stop.
Yeah, we really can't afford just to disconnect from a deal, for a few days because, this is someone buying a house. This is the biggest investment of their life. Even if we're on a vacation, we still have to address the next steps in getting to the closing table. So, like you said, it's 24/7, 365. Just because we are dealing with such a big investment and we don't want to leave someone hanging. So,
Well, obviously, if you have any questions or comments, or you have any ideas for future episodes, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, or even send us a private message if you have any personal comments or questions that you might want answered. We'd be happy to help you out there as well. So before we tune off, we'd like to give you a big thanks, but also give a thanks to our sponsors that make all this possible.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank our title sponsor for this episode. Shout out to the 7189. Thank you guys.
Thank you.